What's up guys, welcome. Today I want to talk to you about a movie that has just hit me with a truckload of inspiration. Now last week I made a video about the recent releases of Pixar and how disappointed I am in their art style. And a lot of you guys in the comments were telling me to go watch this new movie by Sony Animation Studios called K-Pop Demon Hunters. Now I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit skeptical at first because I was like, what kind of title is that? And I'm not even into K-pop. But I decided to give it a shot anyways, and holy this might just be one of the best things that I've seen in a very long time. I have not felt this level of tingling sensation in my extremities in years. And in this video, I just want to talk about how good the art direction is in this movie because I need somewhere to vent. So please sit down and thank you for lending a ear. Now, I'm not going to spoil any part of the story that's not already been shown in the trailers because I want you to actually go see this movie. But first of all, I just want to talk about the art style of this movie, which has seriously inspired me to start thinking a little bit more outside the box about what is actually possible with character stylization. Now, right off the bat, when we're first introduced to our main protagonist and antagonist, we can see that there is a kind of traditional 3D polished animation style here. We don't really see much of the texturization and the comic book look that you might see in previous Sony Animation Studio movies like Spider-Verse. I would say the art style itself is a lot more polished and it's a lot more in line with traditional 3D Western animation, but here's the thing, okay? This is what's so exciting about this. This movie, if you just hit pause on any of the scenes where the character is being remotely expressive, you're gonna end up with some of the funniest screenshots you've ever seen. See this right here? This is what's so cool to me. I feel like Sony Animation Studios is now always pushing the boundaries of what has been done and what is possible in 3D animation. To me, it looks like the art direction takes a lot of inspo from 2D anime art because in anime, we often see faces that are just crazy and funny in a still frame. You know, when a character is scared or mad or even like happy, crying happy tears. Now, traditional anime and even anime today has been known to do these extremely exaggerated types of facial expressions where you might see the mouth just take up over half the face. Or, you know, in a moment of shock, the irises in the eyes just shrink into a tiny dot. Sometimes they become even like invisible. Gigantic teardrops that expand the silhouette of the eyeball. You know, just goofy, over-the-top, highly expressive faces that are not even remotely believable, but they capture the feeling that the animator is trying to express just so perfectly. And this movie borrows so much inspiration from that extreme over-the-top 2D anime style. And oh my goodness, it works so well here because the entire premise of this movie is kind of goofy. You know, like, what do you mean you're a K-pop demon hunter? Now you got to fight off this demon boy band. It's kind of a goofy premise, and they back it up with such an expressive and out of this world art style that I think it just blends so well with the story. And you can tell that the artist had so much fun making this movie, and it just doesn't take itself too seriously. That's part of the beauty of this. Within the first 3 opening minutes, you're just immediately introduced to these wild faces that we've actually not really seen much of in 3D animation before. I mean, since this is based on K-pop, obviously the character designs themselves for our main characters, Rumi, Mira, and Zoe, are going to be extremely conventionally attractive. But somehow the artists and the animators managed to balance that conventional attractiveness with just over-the-top exaggeration of their expressions that just elevates their personality so much more. I've not found myself laughing this hard at a movie in a very long time, and this is just pure visual comedy. Again, with a lot of these faces that I'm showing you guys, you can really see the influence from 2D traditional anime. Now, personally, I like to render my characters in a semi-realistic way, and sometimes they do have a similar feel to 3D animation. But I'll be the first to tell you that it's never crossed my mind to try to mix up 2D anime facial expressions with my 3D art style. And seeing how well it worked in this movie and how many layers of personality it added to these characters has really got me thinking, maybe we should start mixing up these styles a little bit more. Maybe we should be a little bit more experimental as artists. And this is a feeling that I've genuinely not had since I saw the first Spider-Verse movie in 2018. So this is huge. Take a look at these crying dudes. This is straight out of like an anime character expression sheet. And here's a shot of Zoe eating her fish chips, you know, like she just turns into this like tiny chibi looking character. And you can clearly see the anime influence here. And it's stuff like this that just makes you go, wait a minute, I didn't know we could do this. Personally, when I draw expression on my characters, I've always taken inspiration from more traditional Western animation styles, be it 2D or 3D. So seeing more of an Eastern influence being implemented into a style that I really like is just absolutely fascinating and very eye-opening for me. Now, obviously, as an artist, that's a very interesting aspect of this film, but that's not the only thing that makes this so good. Like I said before, you know, this is a K-pop related movie, so the characters are very, very conventionally attractive. The girls are very conventionally attractive, and so are the guys, you know, and conventional attractiveness can sometimes mean your characters might look very similar to each other. But I personally love how they've managed to actually differentiate these characters with slight changes in each character's facial features. Take Rumi, Zoe, and Mira. They've all got slightly different facial proportions. Compared to Rumi, Zoe's got a rounder type of shape language applied to her facial features, to her eyes, to her head, as well as a smaller and rounder feeling face, whereas with Mira, you're getting something much more angular. But at first glance, of course, what sets these characters apart is their very unique and iconic hairstyles. You can immediately tell who's who by just looking at the hair and the silhouette of that hair. Now, obviously, you're not getting as much of a silhouette difference as you would in something like Pixar's Incredibles, but I think here it actually works really well because in K-pop, you know, sometimes at first glance, everyone in a K-pop group can kind of look the same. Is that racist for me to say? I mean, same thing with a boy band group that you see in this trailer, right? All of these characters are very conventionally attractive, but they have very skillfully given each characters their own unique facial features, as well as their own unique silhouettes, be it their bodies or their hair, that just makes each one recognizable as their own unique character. And you can tell this works because now if you go on Twitter and you search up K-pop demon hunters, you're going to see plenty of inappropriate fan art of these specific characters. In my artist's opinion, I think these characters are done extremely well and they stay very close to the subject matter that actually inspires them. You can tell the director and the artist really have a passion for K-pop and they know their subject matter very well. And also on top of that, if you're an artist who's really into costume design, or hell, even if you're not an artist and you just appreciate things that are good looking, you're gonna absolutely poop your pants at the level of costume designs in this film. Because you're going to see a lot of K-pop performances in more extravagant settings, you're going to get exposed to tons of different and beautiful costumes that are so very skillfully designed that somehow all work to elevate the design of each character. Be it something very fancy and complex or something that's a little bit more monotone or maybe even something a little bit more casual. There's even costumes for different time periods, you know, so if you're into character costume design, this is going to give you endless inspiration. It is just absolutely beautiful to look at. Speaking of beautiful to look at, we can't ignore that. Every single shot in this film is framed so gorgeously, and you can absolutely tell the people who worked on Spider-Verse worked on this. You're constantly getting these action scenes where they're super dynamic foreshortening of the character's limbs, be it an arm or a leg, and there's also very creative camera work in some of the performance scenes where the characters get up real close to the camera, and you're just seeing some incredible distortion between the foreground and the background and things just working in conjunction with one another. It is beautifully shot. There's also some shots inspired by the likes of Blade Runner, you know, like this shot right here, for example, with a giant billboard in the background and the small character silhouette in the foreground. It is beautiful and every single frame is a work of art. And this is one of the few times where I found myself wanting to see more of every single scene. When a character comes on screen and there's a performance going on, I'm like, I want a 10-minute video of this. I want an extended YouTube video of this specific concert. I just think this polished 3D animation works so well in this film, combined with some of the kind of jittery stop motion animations. You know, everything is not photorealistic, but it feels handcrafted in a way that I find it very hard to explain. And obviously as a film, it's got to have a soundtrack, and the soundtrack in this one is freaking incredible, guys. Best I've heard in a long time. The story I actually really enjoyed, but like I said, I'm not going to get into that in this video. I want you to go experience it for yourself. Now, I'm not super huge into K-pop, so I didn't think this was going to be something that really resonate with me as a film, but coming out of this, oh my God, was I wrong. At the end of the day, good art is good art. I genuinely don't know what happened, but I feel like all of the top talent, the best artists, the most skilled animators in the world are somehow at Sony Animations now. I feel like this is a film that genuinely deserves a theatrical release, but I guess because it is a little bit more niche in its subject matter, they didn't expect it to go as mainstream as something like Spider-Verse, but it is on Netflix and currently it is doing quite well. So please go and support this because I'd freaking love to see sequels of this, you know, more of this style. Please go check this out. Okay, this Sony Animation Studio is my new Pixar. This is a studio of the most skilled, the most talented artists and animators in the world. And as somebody who is constantly looking for inspiration from the people at the very top of the game, I just want to say thank you guys. To the team of artists and animators, to everybody who worked on this movie, thank you for having the passion for art, for making art like this that inspires the rest of us, because holy shit, I am so inspired right now. I personally love this, and this was a much needed positive note, especially after the last video that I've just had to make about Pixar. I think the landscape of animation has absolutely shifted since 2018. Sony is at the top of the game now. These artists are the ones now pushing this industry forward, setting these new trends. And you know what? I'm not ashamed to admit it, but I am just the biggest fanboy of Sony Animations. Okay, you guys are freaking incredible, man. Please go check this movie out, guys. And if you want to see more art-related content, subscribe to my channel. Go check out my Patreon for monthly tutorials, and I'll see you on the next video.